Thank you for your patience, and I'll request Mr. Anthony to continue with his presentation.
Thank you very much. Firstly, apologies for the delay, but we have it all fixed now. So first of all, we'd like to thank Dr. Patil and the honourable guests for attending today, and for Professor Iyer for organising this seminar. To start off with, quote Mr. Professor Iyer that what we need to focus on is the medium-term power solutions. The larger power plants that take 6 to 7 years, yes, they are important and they are needed for India, but the main focus should be for the interim period, and this is where Aggreko can help. So this presentation is based on Aggreko solutions for decentralized power. Overview of Aggreko. Aggreko is the world-leading supplier of temporary power stations. So we can supply very large power stations on a rental basis. We've been in the business of power rental for over 45 years, and working around the world. Our PLC headquarter is in Scotland, and we essentially have 3 business operating units, which are North America, Europe and the Middle East, and international, with India falling under the international umbrella. Aggreko is a FTSE 100 listed company on the London Stock Exchange, and last year had revenues of over $1.2 billion. Aggreko manufacture and design their own power generators in terms of our facility in Scotland, from which we deploy them around the world to strategically located hubs, and also to various project sites direct from the manufacturing facility. We employ over 3,500 employees worldwide, both in projects and in our permanent locations, of which there are 130 in 30 countries, but we're supporting clients in over 100 countries. Clients varying from large utilities to oil and gas companies to small manufacturing facilities. Today we have over 350 megawatt of gas fleet on rent, and as a company we have over 4,500 megawatt mainly in our diesel operations. Our geographical reach is local across pan-India and global. So what do Aggreko do? Aggreko provide fast, flexible, cost-effective power rental solutions. These could be for planned or unplanned emergency requirements. We undertake total turnkey responsibility in site surveys, designing of the power plant to match the load demands of the client. Upfront engineering, we tailor all our solutions to the client's requirements. Logistics, installation, commissioning, full operation maintenance, and then demobilization at the end of the period. Aggreko use 1 megawatt generators. Our gas units are 1 megawatt, continuous power, and they are built around a 20-foot container, which allows us to have rapid mobilization and also limits the amount of civil works and buildings that are required in preparing any sites. The generators themselves are built to withstand harsh environments and operate outside in all weathers. The engines themselves use proven lean burn technology and heavy-duty designed engines to work in the harshest environments of minus 40 plus 45 degrees. They operate on low-pressure pipeline natural gas. With our standard equipment, we can accept pressure of 6 bar, and with our one-off bespoke designs, we can accept pressures of up to 20 bar. Cost-efficient electricity generation with the 1 megawatt units, we are able to match the exact load demands of the client in terms of peak power or even base load, and they have exceptional reliability and performance. These generators we have been using over the 45 years, our proven track record. The 1 megawatt units, the multiple modular units, allow us to have high flexibility in terms of matching of load demand through the multiple units, whether we have 20 megawatt installed or 50 megawatt installed, 66 megawatt, we can actually match the requirement. We can include redundancy capacity, so to give you base load power running 24 hours a day, we can add additional units in to provide redundancy, which will cover any maintenance issues or any other downtime that you would normally have. So we can actually give you guaranteed power for the contract duration. We can also upsize and downsize during the contracts for any requirements that are foreseen or unforeseen. As we mentioned, we do a full turnkey service. So we supply ancillary equipment. Our generators themselves are low voltage, 400 volts, and we supply additional transformers to step them up to any real capacity from 3.3 kV up to 20 kV, 33, and in some cases up to 132 kV. We also supply switchgear if required, up to 2000 amps and 24 kV. And again, these units are all built around the 20-foot container, which allows us to, as I said, rapidly deploy the units. Any additional ancillaries, distribution cable, LV cables, HV cables are all included in our service. Additional ancillary items, we also do cogeneration and trigeneration, as my friends were talking about, to increase the overall efficiency of the energy required. So, typical Aggreko rental applications, providing generation of power closer or to the point of consumption, which is essentially the decentralized energy theme. So you eliminate things like transmission losses, etc., etc. Provide additional power to supplement the grid in times of shortfall. We've spoke today and gave figures on the shortfall in India. Typically, our applications are used for a 1 to 3 year period to help support the additional power to supplement the grid. We can support seasonal peak shaving demands, running 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, specifically with our diesel units, but also on our gas units. They overcome limitations in transmission and distribution, avoiding any losses. And energy security, so it allows you to be in control of the energy yourselves, rather than depending on a third party who is providing you power. Very stable power. Our generators operate, as I said, at multiple voltages through the transformers. We give constant voltage and constant frequency. And we can give power for remote areas that are inaccessible to the grid. For major power stations, we also provide services for early power in terms of commissioning. As my friend Mr. Prabhu said, that the lead times now in terms of power plants being constructed are getting longer and longer. So we can provide early power for the construction and commissioning of the power plants. And also maintenance. A lot of you will find today that around 40 to 50% of the power stations around the world are over 40 years old and in need of rehabilitation or being renewed. And we can cover maintenance issues that these power plants are experiencing. So the rental solution is an alternative to purchasing, and there's various benefits that you get with the rental solution. The main ones being the reduced risk. So there's no core activities outsourced to a leading specialized provider. So any of your investment is released to invest in your core businesses. We have successfully executed power solutions from 1 megawatt to 290 megawatt. So we have proven reliability. Guaranteed delivery and installation and power output and uptime with our multiple units. We are a financially stable company, and all risks of ownership lie with Aggreko in terms of the equipment being modern and the best fleet, and also in terms of life extension policies and maintenance, etc., etc. We are able to mobilize rapidly. We mentioned the design of the units are 1 megawatt units, limited to a 20-foot container. This allows us to mobilize very, very quickly. And you can see some figures here saying for 30 megawatt, we could have operational within 5 to 6 weeks. Similarly, with 50 megawatt from installation commissioning, operational within 7 to 8 weeks. And 100 megawatt within 12 to 14 weeks. So the ability that we have to mobilize and to provide immediate power is unmatched. Aggreko service and support. Obviously, we have engineers operating, maintaining the plants 24 hours a day. We have a local network within India providing 24-hour support, and that's backed up by our global support of the global network. And we also own all our equipment, so we're not dependent on engine manufacturers, any third-party suppliers that we have. Quality. The generators are capable of operating high, low ambient temperatures without any derates, so minus 40, plus 40. Any temperatures above or below these, then we simply add an extra unit or 2 extra units to cover the derate in the units. We've mentioned our experience in the power rental business of over 45 years, and we have highly trained employees trained from our world-class facilities in the UK and in Dubai. Another major benefit is the flexible power solution. So we can operate our units in paralleling with the grid to provide 24 hours base load support, or we can also operate in island mode, giving the only support of power. And we've mentioned the different voltages. Minimal site preparation, we touched on this earlier. The containerized units, there's no special foundations, no buildings required. We only need level, flat ground. And the units are weatherproof, suitable for outdoor location. And because of the 20-foot units, we can minimize the power plant footprint. So the issues we have around land that we spoke about earlier, some of my colleagues spoke about, we can minimize the actual land requirement. Further benefits are improved cash flow. We mentioned the no need for the capital expenditure, so you really only pay for the electricity that you use. Incurs no large down payments. I think Mr. Prabhu touched on the large investments and financial closure that are required for larger power plants. With the rental solution, there are no large down payments. And it removes the need for the life extension cost, as we mentioned. We specialize in flexible contracts, so we do short-term, from 3 to 6 months, to medium-term contracts, which are anywhere up to 1 year to 3 years, even 4 years. In some cases, we are providing power in some areas now for the last 7 years, 8 years, and we foresee to be there for a while as well. Turnkey power solution, we mentioned design, mobilization, commissioning, installation, so everything is really onto Aggreko. The only 3 real things we need from client is the land, the evacuation connection, and the fuel. All spares, lubricants are supplied and replenished throughout the contract with no extra cost, and additional services such as craneage and HV cable, everything to set up the power plants. Some projects that we have at the moment around the world, so North America, lots of Europe, a lot in Africa, and we'll touch on some case studies that we have at the moment. 2.2 megawatt power plant running in Cabinda. This is one of our early power plants and one of our trial power plants, which is still running today 4 years later. 40 megawatt decentralized gas power in Tanzania. This consisted of 44 units. The first phase was 20 megawatt, the second phase another 20 megawatt, which was air freighted into Tanzania to speed up the delivery process. This was providing base load power 24 hours a day. We have 30 megawatt in Indonesia, with an extension of that for another 30 megawatt coming up in the next 3 months. 20 megawatt in Gabon, again running for the last 1.5 years. 2 25 megawatt plants running in Karachi in Pakistan. So you see this is all around the decentralized energy. These plants are actually in the local distribution network that we spoke about, generating at 33 kV or 11 kV. And our largest plant today, which is the 70 megawatt power plant in Africa, in Ivory Coast. This will be running for 2 years on a base load capacity using natural gas. So in summary, a very short presentation, but in the interest of time, it's a low risk power solution. There's no capital expenditure. We leave the investment you have into your own core businesses. Risk mitigation, uncertainty surrounding government regulations and policies. You're not tied into 25-year contracts if the policies are to change in the next 2 years or 1 year. Mitigating risk against rising electricity tariffs. Once you have secured the rental rates, they're there for the duration of the contract. We have the improved and modern technology. All our fleet is updated on a regular basis, which is our issue. And risk mitigation against volatile business environments, again, no capital outlay, short to medium term contracts. Aggreko provide fast, rapid power. Power is available within weeks. We mentioned some time frames earlier. No civil works, so there's no sunk costs in terms of buildings that are not going to be used, etc. Very cost-efficient generation, performance and reliability, and above all, backed by Aggreko strength. So thank you for your attention, and I will hand back over to Mr. Professor Ayer.
With that presentation, there is a solution in the sense that wherever investment is going to be a major criterion, people don't want to load their balance sheet. I think the Aggreko kind of solution will work for sure, and there are quite a few takers for those kind of power plants. And I think wherever there is a construction site, let's say a power plant, I was at Sasan and I was watching almost like 3,000 acres of land, and it's not a permanent power solution that they need. What they labeled initially was temporary power solutions. But this temporary is going to be 4 years, for something like Sasan, if you construct an ultra mega power plant. So maybe this kind of decentralized solution goes to those locations, So it's a nice way to see that it doesn't load onto the balance sheet of such enterprise, and yet it gives a solution. So this kind of a power requirement will also grow, and we may have a lot of construction site, dams, I would say major bridges, and I don't know how much of us will be ending up burning diesel, because of course you do offer diesel solutions, but I'm a little bit against diesel. I feel the subsidy of diesel, we're only going to build more of that. We already got 30,000 to 32,000 crores of subsidy going for nothing, including the transport sector. And in the transport, I would say leave the trucking, which actually consumes 20%. But somebody like me or you who would buy a diesel engine car and then actually end up making the country pay for it, So I don't think we should be allowed to use such diesel, We should be. This is crazy. I'm sorry, I'm punishing myself. I have a petrol car, although I could have a diesel car. But at least I wanted to follow what I said. But I don't think most Indians would do it. And I want to name, but even Tatas should think, finally, whether they need a diesel car or they need a real gas or a hybrid car, So we need a revolution at that end. And finally, also electricity. So nice idea, my friend. So I think it will work, definitely. And it's a new way of thinking, especially where capital investment needs an avoidance of sorts, And then you need to run your business, what you're doing, Now coming to the next presentation, may I request Mr. Avinash Limaye. We are a little bit running short of time, so whatever best we can do, I would request all of our next speakers to do justice so that we can go forward for a break before we come to the next one. Thank you. We will have a question answer also with the speakers for 15 minutes.
Good afternoon, Professor Iyer, distinguished professionals at the dais and intellectual professionals in the... You see, I come from Sterling and Wilson, a group of companies, and we are known in the Indian market as MEP contracting company for all these years. And we have a DG packaging unit at Silvassa, and we pack up to 3,000. Our friend MTU, we import the engines and pack it and sell into the Indian market. But these are diesel engines. Now with this background and our presence in infrastructure area, we have decided to go for a gas-based solutions to the industry. And when we are doing the solutions for the infrastructure, it can be extended to the industrial power units. With that idea, I'll just make a thought how CHP is more important for a power shortage, what we are facing as on date. So just to take the reference of what we are talking, need of the day is we want a energy efficient, modular, scalable equipments to be installed, because when you are looking for a power solution, energy solution, another thing, your requirement is always spread. It doesn't come on a day one, and you have a plan for 4 years, 5 years, like that, phasing it. So if the concept is brought right at the beginning and have a modular concept available, you can keep on multiplying by making a provision right at the greenfield stage, so that you are not to struggle as you expand. That is the idea. And with this idea, we are talking green buildings, we are talking environment requirements, how to fulfill that requirement, and the cost of diesel, standby, because whenever one is planning and he has to assure a power supply to a building, he thinks of, if the supply from the grid is not available, he goes for standby, and which is a dead wood at many a times. But if the standby concept gets changed into the continuous power generation by using the fuel of this century, that is natural gas, we think that in long term it pays back and you get a clean environment and assured power. So what we have come out with the different modules to be given to the Indian industry depending on their need, because the need of each industry is different. Hotel needs different things, IT parks needs different things, and so on. So we have modules for each and every type of industry. You all know that our growth is restricted because of shortage of power, and this can be met by decent energy and the efforts what we are addressing to this gathering. The standby diesel which is required, you cannot eliminate 100%, but you can always reduce the deadwood and make it more effective by choosing a diesel, then choosing a gas engine, choosing a utility supply, and make a combination so that the solution what is being installed will give you a most energy efficient cycle. That is the idea. Government is also trying to enforce that the gas should be used to the maximum for the transport section, and as well as they have formed the grid for the gas and infrastructure has been invested. The only problem, this infrastructure is in place, but the gas availability was not there for last almost 10 years, because from 2000 onward ONGC has a sealed production of the gas, and we were buying the gas as a LNG from outside with a spot purchase arrangement, and that was not viable. That is how the whole gas industry came to a stagnancy, and then people started looking for diesel as a solution, because the growth cannot be stopped, and we have been paying that extra price for the diesel and so on. But with the infrastructure in place, like cities like Bombay, Gujarat, then Delhi, I think the availability of the gas, because of the Reliance gas available, BG gas available, the gas authorities are also ready to sign the contracts and assure everyone the gas is available and you can go ahead with the investment. That was the key driving factor for going to the solutions what we are talking. Now, when we are shifting our focus from standby to the self-generation, naturally only power is not the only solution. You have to use that energy to the optimal, so that the exhaust gases, jacket water, that can be used for creating your other utilities like steam requirement, then hot water requirement, chilled water requirement, so that the cyclic efficiency can go to 80%, 75%, depending upon the solution desired. Only troubling block is that availability of the gas, which has been resolved now, but there is a clause everywhere that 21 days, if the gas is not available, you should not do any punishment to the authority. And that creates a uncertainty of going for a big investment. And this big investment, then everyone goes for a different kind of solution. Okay, I will have 150% install capacity. Something comes from the grid, something comes from gas engines, and something from standby. So how to overcome that is a challenge for everyone. How to force government that, okay, that clause should be removed and the gas should be made available. Because today, government is also planning the new investments and other thing in a SEZ form, where you have to have your own power supply, your own water supply, your own transport and something. All these things at one location. And when the gas is made available, I think the projects what we are talking becomes most viable. Again, the power available has a dual policy. For residential, they will sell at 5 rupees. For commercial, because you want power and there is no other alternative, they charge double the price of what residential people get. So the commercial power in all metros is a very high amount. And if you compare with that and whatever units you will produce with the gas installations, naturally the payback gets reduced. You can save at least 4 to 5 rupees per unit. And some complementary comes from the exhaust gases and other things. So high electrical prices, I stopped the industrial looking for the solution. Now the builders or industries, what they want, their core competencies are different. They don't want to get into the power generation, distribution and other things. So they will always look for the people who will give a total solution and take the responsibility of operation of the units when it is commissioned and handed over. And we are addressing this issue to all builders, industries, and we take the full responsibility of interacting with them and come to a viable solution, most economical solution, and we'll taking the responsibility of total operation and maintenance for the life cycle of the plant thereafter. As we said, we are a contracting company. We are known as a MEP contracting company. We are known in diesel manufacturing and distribution company and so on. So what we are trying to emphasize now is a EPC solution for gas-based power plant, distributed structure for infrastructure industry. And in all such cases, there is nothing like a ready-made solution. You have to interact with the people and make a modular concept so that it matches with their phased out investment, and at the same time it gives the maximum optimal solution. Our targets are this CHP solution is SEZ, IT parks, malls, commercial buildings, hospitals. Then we are looking for distributed solution also, because many people say that I want the power only, not the CHP solution, and power at cheaper rate, which can be best given by most efficient electrical gas engine. And we are talking of not 100 megawatt, 200 megawatt like that, something to start with 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt to 50 megawatt at one unit, and that suits the localized distribution. Another looking at this is the group captive solution. Many industrial estates, they don't have power. There you can form a group and give a solution. I install the gas engines because maybe in that industry you need steam, steam, then chilled water that can be integrated, and it can be a group captive solution. Then most of the metros, they are looking for the solution with the picking stations, because the gas engine, if you use, you can start, stop any number of times and meet that the picking demand. So in short, what we want to say that the application engineering is the key for the success, and we are in that field. We are a core team, and we can discuss the solution and come out with a right application. Our business model is basically for the power projects. Our core strength, end-to-end solution giving, that will extend right from the project identification, conceptualization, engineering, project management, execution, procurement, construction management, commissioning, and handing over. And of course, not the least, very important, we'll take the operational responsibility, maintenance for the life cycle of the plant. We'll source the equipment which are energy efficient and from the international market. So this is our business model. You know this particular availability of the gas. This is available with the petroleum ministers. And I just brought it, the fear that there is no gas, I think that is removed now. There are plans to install the infrastructure and make the gas available, abundant. This was the synergy 208-209 was a restricted thing. Now it is almost will be doubled in coming 2 to 3 years time. And as you know, the wellhead price has been fixed. I think it will remain constant for years to come. Then the delivery price is also fixed now, and spot prices are known. It can be anything. Now, our business plan, you see, we are not the manufacturer of gas turbines, gas engines, HRSG and other things, but we can package this and take the full responsibility of that package to deliver as required by the customer. So naturally, we have created our business partners to give this solution, and we take the full responsibility of delivering it on time and with proper engineering. As we are talking for the gas engine application for decent power generation, we have tied up with Kawasaki. Our two gentlemen from the Kawasaki, Japan, they are also here to interact with you if you want any additional information. And why we selected Kawasaki? Because we find that there is a room to sell these engines in Indian market when you are making packing with the solution. And when we were investigating the availability of the gas engines in the bracket 5 megawatt onwards, for this scales are required for 1 million square feet of built up area and so on, 5 to 10 megawatt. That is how we have established this contact with Kawasaki, and this is a very fresh engine into the market, a single fuel engine with a background of their manufacturing for DG sets for almost from 1920 onwards, and they are very well known into the shipbuilding, where the highest DG engine what they have produced is 65 megawatt. There are about 2,500 plus engines in the shipping industry, and average comes to 6.2 megawatt per unit of DG. With all said and done, the gas engine what they have produced, it is very close to what we talk the environment requirement and other thing. It is called a green gas engine, and it is the highest power with compact size. This is what we have found as on today. The heat rate is also very good, 7.74 to 2.7 joules, and thus it can produce about 5.2 units of electricity with 1 SMC of the gas available. I think this is the highest available as on today. The NOx.
Go a little fast because
Yeah.
we have 2 more sections after this.
Yeah. I think another 3-4 slides and that's comes to.
Move a little fast.
Yeah. So this is how we have selected Kawasaki. There are 2 engine lineups only. One is 12 cylinder, another is 18 cylinder, 5.2 and 7.8 megawatt. All the partial load efficiency of the gas engine are much higher. Then when you compare the CO2 emission vis-a-vis diesel engine, the gas engines are lower, so that is environment friendly. The maintenance cycle is again a subjective thing because gas engine needs a long frequent maintenance. Basically it is being a spark plug engine. Every 2000 hours you have to change the spark plugs, then there is a B type of replacement, changing all these things we will address. We will stock these spares, we will train our engineers and offer this service to the industry. That is the crust of this. And the life cycle is anything between 12 years to 15 years depending upon how you use, how you maintain. Now as we are the CHP solution providers, when you use a gas engine, the exhaust energy can be used in a different way. One is only producing electricity, then when you want low pressure steam, a hot water, another combination will come. It can be only chilled water and power, and lastly only the chilled water. With 7.8 megawatt engine we can deliver 1300 TRs of chilled water. So this application needs to be discussed as the demand is there. We are the end-to-end solution providers. We are well known in the electrical and lighting system. We are known in HVAC system, fire detection system, DG plant we are already operating, plumbing systems, and this is an add-on product for the end-to-end solution. The business solution, they expect a transfer of risk because nobody wants to buy so many equipments, make a project out of this. So by giving a EPC solution, they transfer the risk to the EPC provider. Single point responsibility is assured when engineering practice are best in industries will be used. Cost and time for implementation is fixed and guaranteed once the contract is in place. Financial investment is firm and risk-free for the owner. State-of-the-art technology comes into plant interface is seamless because it's one time and plant performance is guaranteed. Why Sterling and Wilson? It's a one-stop turnkey solution, leading power solution providers, high-end project management system, multiple project handling capabilities, because when you're talking of more distributed plants, you need more sites, professional installation commission, commitment to the quality. This is a typical layout with 7.8 megawatt engine. And in conclusion, we deliver the power and CHP solutions to infrastructure and process industry, green environment, innovative, creative and value-based approach. Our solution has gas engine DG. It's a combination of all these things. Environment regulations we will fulfill and O&M will take. Okay, that's a little fast, but we are ready to discuss one-to-one if any questions are there. Thank you very much.
while I saw all those presentations, I have a bit of advice, Maybe in the next Decent Energy we can look at the broader issue, 50 gigawatt target. So I would really request, next time, all my friends, a lot of questions will come. We have seen this in my solar. We have seen this in our hydro. I want this decent forum not to become a marketing forum, because we all know what people can do. I would like to see, how we are taking a macro position, because marketing leaders would have to take a macro position. And we are having a macro topic, and I would like to get content out of this. I very well know, Shapurji Polanji is a great group and it can do a lot of work. I very well know that an MTU is a great company. But I feel we got some insights into international power plants from Khanna Saab's, output. That's what, a case study model must be there. But to say that we can do this and we can do that, I think 100 companies in India and tomorrow 1,000 companies in India will do it. So my request is, please, the time is very critical. Topic is broad. There is a very macro issue and we are trying to go and influence policy. And we should use this time in a presentation successfully. Because I have seen that one of the worst things that engineers do is, they go on and it doesn't produce any results, sir. It goes from the top. 8 to 10 minutes you can be crisp and beautiful. I would understand Bhattacharya's output far better than this kind of an output. So my request is, next time the quality has to be a little better. I'm not criticizing, but I must say, because on and on we give the forum, and what we end up doing is, instead of making the topic is big, this field must be asked question and we should give the chance to these people. And we linger on with making presentation long ones. I would request that every forum, not only for my forum, if you want to get quality, let us stop doing this. I'm sorry for this, because this is definitely required, that I needed to say this at one point, Now may I request Pranav Saab, because we have eaten into the time of Pranav and other friends. I'm sorry, Pranav ji, we would look at this macro issue now with you.
I'll straight come on to the subject in view of the paucity of time. Obviously, because we are going to talk both gas-based and biofuel-based 50 gigawatts. So I have divided into two parts. So first, let us discuss the enablers for natural gas. Natural gas is expected to be the fastest growing component of world's primary energy consumption. This is as per the International Energy Outlook 2003. Arrival of gas, we are all bullish way back in 2002, 2003 also, that gas is going to play a very important role with increased availability. So there is going to be a dramatic change in the gas availability scenario in the country. It is already happening. So if you compare the gas scenario, global versus India, 2.8% was average annual growth rate for global against India's 6.1%. So India is growing. Similarly, consumption also. Let us go to straight 2025 figure, where the world is growing at the rate of 95.5% increase, whereas we are growing at 320% increase. Then share in energy also, let us go straight to 2025, where India is increasing from 10.4% to 20%. So supply-demand gap, as we know that demand is exponentially rising to 391 by 2025, and if you take this 2012, it is to the tune of 313, where we will not have that much of supply, as we shall see later. So what are the drivers for the gas demand? We all know liberalization, industrial policy, the pace of economic growth, then of course the pricing of gas, to which we will come later, building a pipeline grid and regulatory mechanism which has now come in place with PNGRB, Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board coming up. So what are our options? Import of LNG, we are already practicing that. New domestic findings, that also with NELP round, there are encouraging results. We are also encouraging coal bed methane through again NELP. Gas hydrates, is a future possibility. Transnational pipelines also I consider it as future possibility. So last two I am not touching in this particular lecture. So import of LNG, just let us go to the straight figure that we may have about 26 million metric cubic meters per day. So that is consisting of both Dahej and Hazira terminals. At Kochi also one more terminal is coming up, and a few more are also being planned, which is a happy news that we can augment our natural gas supply through LNG. Now this is one concept, LNG at doorstep, which is very hardly explored in our country but offers a great potential. This concept is basically moving in cryogenic tankers, transport this LNG from either the Dahej Shell or the LNG terminal to the exact consuming point. This saves the pipeline cost and time. Pipeline laying is very costly, which we know from our Gujarat State Petronet experience, and it is very time consuming. Again, you have to take all kinds of permission for PNGRB. Also, we have to take permission for land, etc. This technology and concept has been very well demonstrated by IOC right here at Pen, Maharashtra. They are supplying from Dahej. If this is used, it can greatly help in decentralized power generation, because what we will do is, let us say my requirement is 10,000 cubic meters per day or 20,000 cubic meters per day. For 20,000, I will need just one 15-tonner cryogenic tanker to move. And all my energy needs are met through this 20,000 cubic meters. And we don't have to go for large regasification plants, we don't have to go for large pipeline network, etc. So this LNG at doorstep can go a long way in meeting this distributed and decentralized power generation. So these are some photographs. Later we can see, because I have just tried to scan. On the top you can see the cryogenic tanker which I had photographed at Los Angeles. And it is just round the corner petrol station kind of situation, where I just took this photograph. And then of course this is the storage tank, the vertical one, and this is that entire complex. So now if we see what is the scenario like for the new domestic findings, GSPC NICO, we had a small 1 million cubic meters per day. Similarly, CAN is estimated on the gas side at 1.2. Panna Mukta Tapti, which have already started exploring, that is of the order of 8 million cubic meters. Reliance KG Basin at that time was estimated at around 40 million cubic meters, and as we all know that it can easily ramp up to 60 and also 80 in less than a year's time. So it offers a really good solution, and you know that the Dahej terminal was lying idle because of the increased supply of natural gas from Reliance, which we are not able to absorb because of the infrastructure, though the demand was very much there. Then we also have good news from GSPC's KG Basin. Of course, Reliance is going to increase. KN has also come, and also more and more NELP rounds coming. So these additional discoveries have already started contributing to the overall gas availability. Coal bed methane, I'll straight go to the last figure of 15 million cubic meters per day. So how there is a large demand supply gap, even if we import to the extent of 52 million, which is double than what has been planned both at Shell, Kochi and Hazira, that will be 52. Then new domestic findings, we are talking of somewhere around 90 million cubic meters per day. Coal bed methane 15, we have already said. Gas hydrates and translational pipelines we are not considering. So the total new availability will be somewhere around 157. we have something to the tune of about 100 million available. So that adds up to 257, which compares well with the earlier figure given, against the demand of 391. So you can see there is a large demand supply gap despite increased availability. I am just referring to just 2 days ago, there was a further find of recoverable 1.5 TCF, total 20 TCF gas find in the Cambay Basin. You may also